The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to CPA Academy. This is Jason Bookman. I will be your moderator on today's webinar called Scaling Up, Why Small Business Owners Fail to Scale and What You Can Do About It. Of course, we have Ainsley Damery from the Clarity Project, who's going to be presenting for all of you over the next hour. Before we get into today's session, I want to go through a couple of quick technical checks, make sure everything's working for everybody. So if you haven't already done so, let's go over to the GoToWebinar questions panel, part of the control panel docked in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can see the title card of the slides. While you're in there, let me know where you're listening in from, just because we love having that information. I see a lot of people checking in from Texas. I see North Carolina. I see New York. I see Arizona. And of course, I'm glad you're all here. If anyone's having any trouble seeing or hearing throughout today's session, go ahead and let me know in this questions panel. Do the best we can do to get the troubleshooting done quickly and put your focus back where it needs to be. I also want to quickly direct you over to the GoToWebinar handouts section, where you'll be able to download a copy of the handouts for you to follow along with at home for today's webinar or refer back to in the future. Just in case I didn't say it earlier, if anybody is having trouble seeing or hearing, let me know in the questions panel as well. Before we get into today's webinar, I want to go through a quick technical check regarding credit and let you all know how you can earn your CPE for today's webinar. Today's webinar qualifies for 1 CPE credit. In order to earn that credit, you have to be logged in for at least 50 minutes out of the 60 minutes of our time and answer the poll questions. We're going to have 4 polls throughout today's webinar. You only need to answer 3 of them in order to qualify for full credit, but of course we recommend you answer all 4. Polls are going to be launched periodically throughout the webinar. They will be announced, and when the polls are launched, the slides will go away and be replaced by the big blue GoToWebinar poll dialog box. Once that comes up, all you need to do is click on the radial button that best corresponds with your answer and hit the submit button on the GoToWebinar poll dialog. We're going to use those polls along with your time logged in to issue CPE, which will be done by our team here at CPA Academy by the end of the day today, and available in your accounts within 24 hours, along with an archived recording of today's webinar and a copy of the handouts. The handouts, as I already mentioned, are available in the handouts section of the GoToWebinar control panel, which is down again in the right side of your screen. You can pop that open, click on those handouts to follow along at home or refer back to them in the future. Now that we've gotten through all of the technical checks, I want to remind everyone that if you do need to ask questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and do so in the questions panel. Same questions panel we used to check in, same questions panel that I directed you all to should you have any technical trouble. Of course, it is there for your questions. So I am going to step out of the way now and turn today's session over to Kevin Russa from Right Networks to say a couple of words. We are so happy that Right Networks is bringing today's webinar to all of you, and we are grateful for them to be part of the platform here at CPA Academy. So Kevin, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it, man. And just want to say thanks to all you guys. Excuse me. Thanks to all you guys out there joining us on a Wednesday here. Me and my partner in crime, Ainsley, are going to be talking to you guys today about why small business owners fail to scale and what you can do about it. And super excited to be sponsoring and big partner of CPA Academy. So happy to be here, and hope you guys get some great content out of this here in the next hour or so. So I'm just going to dive into a little bit about us, Right Networks over here, just give you guys kind of a high-level overview, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ainsley. We are, excuse me, 100% accounting focused, so focused specifically in the accounting industry, have been working with firms and their clients for about 17 years now. So the good news is you can have a lot of technology partners out there, but somebody that knows your business, understands your industry, knows your pain points, understands your workflows, it makes it a lot easier to leverage a solution and to really get a lot more value out of your provider or partner. And that's what we like to kind of picture ourselves as. So we partner with accounting firms and help them in their journey to the cloud, so to speak, with their clients. We have a deep industry experience and knowledge required to provide really the best-in-class cloud solutions. So we have been doing this a long time and have really focused on optimizing our systems, optimizing our process, and make sure that we're delivering the most highly available, secure, fully managed environment in the cloud for accounting firms and their clients. And that's our #1 goal. That's our bread and butter, and why we've been so successful is we've focused solely on that and making it a great customer experience, very customer-driven kind of organization here. We do lead the market with 150,000 users. So those are primarily QuickBooks desktop users that are hosting the desktop version of QuickBooks in the cloud with us. And it grows at about 20% year over year. So fairly large number of folks that are seeing the benefit of keeping their desktop solutions, but moving them to a cloud-based environment so they can get the benefits of really the SaaS offerings that are out there, as well as all the features and functionality that comes with the desktop product. So a lot of people are seeing the good fit there, and the growth over the years has been really tremendous, and very excited about that too. And in addition, from users, we do work with about 3,000 accounting firms now. So all the way from just a QuickBooks hosted solution up to our custom cloud offering, where we'll outsource all the technology from a accounting firm and really put everything in the cloud for them. So again, really deep in the accounting industry, heavy focus on CPAs, bookkeepers, and firms, and really just know that business overall. I think what helps with that is the next bullet here too, is our strategic partnerships with Intuit, CCH, Thompson, to name a couple, and really just knowing, again, the large players in the space, and really our clients and customers benefit from these solutions. So if we have an issue with any of these three products or any of the products in any of these three companies' catalogs, we technically don't have to really, the customer doesn't end up being put in the kind of the finger pointing game. We'll work directly with the vendor and are really integrated in terms of product teams, understanding when their maintenance releases come out, support aspects of the product. So our clients and customers really benefit from those strategic partnerships we have with these organizations, because again, it just leads to a better customer experience. And again, the client's just going to benefit from us working together and making sure it's a seamless kind of option in the cloud that we're delivering for these folks. And then uniquely positioned to deliver the best solution in service experience. I kind of touched on that on all the other bullets there, but customer experience is very important to us, and we're really focused on making sure it's a smooth transition to the cloud with us, and you're able to utilize the same products that you've kind of grown to know and love, might be a strong word, but that you want to utilize in an additional cloud-based environment, and really see the benefits of that. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I just want to hand things over to Ainsley, but appreciate you guys hearing us out and understanding what Right Networks does, and I'll let Ainsley take it from here from Clarity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kevin, and it's great to hear about the level of work and the involvement you have within the accounting industry. Hi, everyone. My name is Ainsley Damery, and I'm the CEO and founder of Clarity. Clarity is an online global business advisory platform that provides accountants, bookkeepers, and business advisors with the tools to enable small business owners to understand their numbers and how to make them better, to build a step-by-step business development program to create a world-class business, and ultimately to help them connect with investors, funders, and lenders who will provide the necessary finance or money to help them grow or scale or exit their business. Now, for those of you who don't know me and thinking, why on earth is a software guy talking to us about small business and helping small businesses scale? Well, I actually come from an accounting background myself. I worked and trained with KPMG, and I left KPMG and joined a regional accounting firm in the UK called Theobald Tomlin. And we were very much focused on niche business advisory solutions for our clients. So whilst we did the accounts and tax returns, we primarily focused on helping our small business clients grow, helping them scale, and helping them build a scalable, sustainable business that was profitable and generating lots of cash. Now, we were using cloud at a very early stage, but this isn't all about cloud today, and I don't want to get obsessed about cloud. Cloud is important, and we'll touch on that. But this was about how we actually used technology and leveraged the power of technology, because technology is only ever an enabler, and how we did that to build better client services and to add value. We won a number of awards, both nationally and internationally, for the way we did business, primarily for culture, brand, and how we introduced technology to better help clients. I sold out to Crowe, which is one of the largest accounting firms in the UK last year, to focus entirely on Clarity, which is hoping to make a bigger impact on the world of both accounting and small business. So just to briefly touch on the number of awards we've won, and including Intuit Firm of the Future. Mentioning Intuit, I have been very, very lucky to speak at both San Jose at QuickBooks Connect and QuickBooks Connect at London. And primarily, I've been talking about business advisory solutions for accounting firms and the challenges faced by small business owners and how they can help, and how accountants can be the superheroes to help them overcome that. I've also been lucky to be invited to Necker Island to to the home of Sir Richard Branson to talk to entrepreneurs from around the world, helping them to understand how they can scale their businesses and access the cash and funding to grow. So I hope you get an understanding that it's not just a software guy talking to you. I actually have a deep understanding of what you are going through in practice and the challenges your clients are facing. Our why is to help small business owners get clarity so that they can build a better life for their family and team, and ultimately contribute towards a better world, because we know small businesses power the global economy. Great. So sorry for probably the introduction from two of us, but it was important to just give you some of the understanding of my involvement with accounting and small businesses. Now, what we're going to be talking today is going to be a very fast-paced session. We're going to look at business has changed in the last 5 to 10 years and why that's so, and why that's important for us to understand and put into perspective. I'm also going to take you through the biggest mistakes that small business owners that we know have made. And this comes from our understanding of thousands of small businesses and our work with thousands of small businesses, not just in the United Kingdom, but across the world. And I want to show you how easily that you, as an accountant, bookkeeper, or advisor, can help them grow sustainably and profitably. So I'm hoping that's a good place to start. So I think Jason's going to launch poll number 1, which is looking at what you're trying to achieve out of today and what you're looking for. And hopefully we can match that.
All right, thank you, Ainsley. Poll number 1 is now live. We're going to leave this open long enough to get a majority of responses, so everyone go ahead and get your answers in. We're going to close this down in about 45 seconds.
Good, and if you've got any questions as we go along, then I would encourage you to please ask them as we go. Don't wait till the end. We will have time for a Q&A at the end, but I would rather that you interrupt as you go along, type the questions. Jason's going to be moderating, and he's going to interrupt me if there's relevant questions to what we're talking about.
And in the meantime, we're going to close this poll down in about another 10 seconds, so everyone get your votes in. Again, this is poll 1. There will be 3 more polls following this one, and I'm going to go ahead and close this one down in 3, 2, and 1. Poll number 1 is now
right.
closed.
So excellent. So the large majority of you will be covering some of the, or sorry, will get interest from some of the topics we're covering. I hope for those 18% that clicked none of the above, that either you have misread what the course was about, or that hopefully we will be covering some of the topics that you're interested in as we go along. It is quite a broad subject, and I hope that we will keep most of you happy as we go. Great. So the first thing I want to really talk about is how much business has changed in the last 5 to 10 years. I want you to try and throw your mind back to where you were, just say 5 years ago, the types of technology you were using, the services you were offering, who you were talking to, who you were dealing with, who was employed in your organization, and how were you structured. If you go back even further to 10 years ago, I'm sure you'll see that there's been a dramatic change in the way that you've done business, let alone the way your clients are doing business. And particularly, it's important to touch on why small business is big business and why small business matters, because these numbers are quite huge in general. Now, there are 163 million registered small businesses around the world. They're probably, according to Intuit, maybe 600,000, 600, bigger businesses that are not registered. But when we're looking at 163 million, that's a massive number. And if we just bring that to the US, they represent 99.9% of all businesses and are 30.2 million small businesses. The numbers in Canada are pretty much similar as well, if we've got any Canadians on the line. So they represent 99.97% of businesses in Canada and 1.3 million actual businesses. And when you look at private sector employment, small businesses in the US employ 48% of all private sector employees, and that's 59 million people in the US. And the contribution to the economy is absolutely whopping as well at 44%, contributing 5.9 trillion to the US economy. So small business is massive, and this is why small business is so important to not just local economies, but to the national and the global economy, and why governments tend to pay lip service potentially to small business owners and actually getting involved in small business owners and providing support and the necessary services for small businesses. But when we look at the success rates of small businesses, or particularly the failure rates, we see that only 4 out of 10 businesses survive more than 5 years. And those numbers are pretty much matched, not just in the US, but across the Western world as well. And when we go out to 10 years, those numbers tend to be a little harder to find. But anecdotally, we find that only 1 to 3 businesses, survives more than 10 years. So that's 1 out of 10. And those numbers are actually quite shocking. And in the UK, Prince Charles, who's, as you might know, is part of the royal family, he spoke to the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales in November, and he said it was accountants that were the ones that could truly save the world. And that's because he believed that if accountants who had the necessary skills and tools to be able to support small businesses, if they could change the needle just a small bit on the success rates of small businesses, then that would have a massive impact on the world. Now, when we look at why do businesses only survive, only 1 to 3 out of 10 businesses survive more than 10 years? Well, oftentimes economies go in 10-year cycles. But particularly in the last number of years, and particularly the last 5 to 10, we've seen a massive increased competition and downward pressure on pricing. Businesses are working harder and longer for smaller returns. We've also seen a huge number of small businesses over the last 10 years, and particularly after the economic downturn, we saw a lot of people turning to their own businesses and setting up their own businesses. And the barriers to entry are generally now so much lower than they ever were before. And with access to global markets and production facilities around the world and an internet that basically creates a very simple marketplace or an ability to access a bigger marketplace, we're seeing a massive change in the way business is done. And what was once in the past adopting the best way of doing things and doing it really, really well was almost going to guarantee you success. And now that's just only enough to get you to the starting point. It's only enough to get you into the game. So what the heck has happened? Well, effectively, the cloud technology and the internet has had a dramatic change on the way we do business around the world. And in fact, very interestingly, a great quote from Andy Gove, who said, "We are at an inflection point where we need a fundamental shift in business strategy, or nothing less is sufficient." So that's quite a big statement. And again, whilst I'm highlighting the importance of cloud, I don't want to get overly obsessed on cloud technology in this session. What I do want to just highlight for you is to show you where some of the world's leading companies are going at the moment, and their valuations are built on potentially a lot of intellectual property rather than traditional assets that we've seen in the past. So in the couple of examples I'm going to show you, we're not going to go into Uber or the recent valuation or the practices at Uber. We're just saying a 10-year-old company has a valuation of 50 billion. And Uber has actually no assets in general. It doesn't have traditional fixed assets that we understand. It doesn't have plants like Ford. It doesn't have a huge stock of automobiles. But obviously, I appreciate there are some changes to the Uber model where they are hiring vehicles and leasing them out to drivers. But in general, if we just look at the valuations of those two companies, and Ford is 116 years old and is valued at 35 billion. When we look at the Airbnb versus Hilton, again, it's the same story. Airbnb doesn't have any property. It doesn't have anything to rent. It uses technology and its own intellectual property to be able to generate that revenue. And so 11 years old, that company's valued at 38 billion. And when we compare it to a company like Hilton, who's been around for 100 years with a lot of bricks and mortar, and that valuation is 25 billion. So we're just seeing the different types of businesses and how they're succeeding. And again, I'm not going to argue whether that valuation for Airbnb will be the same in 100 years and whether Hilton will be in a comparable level. What I'm just showing you here is that the way business is being done at the moment has changed fundamentally, and we need to be aware of what that impact has for our clients and be able to guide them through that. And we are seeing a massive switch in business as well. We've heard a lot of talk about automation, and in the past we've been threatened, I suppose, by technology that it will replace employees and automate the entire processes. But what we've seen is in recent years is the shift from automation to efficiency. And when we look at maybe the employees of Vodafone, for example, and we see that they have 101,000 employees worldwide, whereas WhatsApp is at 150, which is just purely a rounding difference on that. And when we look at bigger companies like Hilton with 155,000 employees and compare that to Airbnb, we can kind of understand that that technology is important, but it's generating efficiency rather than automation potentially going forward. So I just wanted to highlight those couple of points and to get you thinking about what those impacts might have on your clients rather than any other factor. So what I want to get into now, and if I can just keep an eye on the questions and see if there's anything coming through on that. So what I want to get to really is why business owners are failing to scale at the moment. And this comes from our years of understanding and introduction and knowledge of small businesses and our experiences with thousands of businesses around the world. And I'm going to hopefully fire through those quite quickly so that we can then get to how we can actually help small businesses, how we as accountants can deliver tremendous value to accountants and bring that to play. So one of the biggest issues that we've seen primarily with small business owners is the first thing they do is that they don't plan. And it's been a sad reality that many of the clients that I've worked with over the years, they spend more time planning their holiday than they do in their business. And if you think about what a client does to be thinking about planning for a holiday, so they're looking at the future, they're doing some research, they're understanding what's going on in the marketplace. They probably go on TripAdvisor, talk to friends, decide on a location, look at the resorts, look at the hotels within that location, look at when they might get away, plan a budget for that, look at whether they need to get foreign currency or visas, what they need to do with the kids and the dogs, how they plan all of that, how they get time off from their business, and how they enable all of that to happen. And can you just reflect on that for a second, the amount of planning that goes involved in a holiday? Yet many of our clients fly by the seat of their pants when it comes to small business, and they just trust what's going to happen and accept what's being fired at them and just keep their heads down and just keep doing the do. Now again, if we think about it from a house perspective, we don't just build a house by chucking some bricks that are on the floor together and seeing what happens. We have to have some idea about what the business is going to look like when it's finally done, much like we do with a house. We have to have a picture of what that house will look like. It, of course, will be that the plans will change, the business will change, the house will change, extra windows will get added, we will change the layout, add new conservatories, change the colors, change the layout internally. But it just means that we have an idea of what we're doing so that we can plan, that we've got focus, that we've got direction, and we've got an understanding, and we've thought about the issues and challenges in the business. And again, if we look at a military perspective, military plan entirely those operations. It's not to say when they hit the ground that things completely go off kilter and they have to revert to operating on something that they hadn't thought about or hadn't considered, but they have at least done a lot of planning in advance so that they've understood the scenarios, they've understood their options, and that when they're encounter something that they probably hadn't envisaged, it doesn't scare them. It just means they're going to work around it, and as a team, they're going to work around it. And so we know for our business clients that planning is a really, really important aspect. And the very basic things that we can do for a client from a planning perspective is we can look at maybe last year plus 10% or last year plus 5%. And we can actually use technology to enable us to do that. So we don't have to waste a lot of time nowadays in creating a very simple plan. We don't have to download their numbers into Excel and then multiply them by a certain percentage and then export them back out again. We can actually use software that sucks that data and performs those numbers for us very, very quickly. Of course, I'm not saying that last year plus X is a really good way of planning. In fact, we're far better off starting from scratch and understanding how the business is built and the financial implications of the way the business is structured and the model of the business. But as accountants, we're pretty good at understanding that, and we're pretty good at taking workflows and business processes and putting them to numbers and putting them into an Excel spreadsheet. So whilst last year plus X% is a good way to start, it's obviously not the best way of business planning, and I'm certainly not advocating that that's the way you should be talking to your clients about business planning. But when we talk about business planning as well, we can talk about project by project planning. We could talk about maybe a 12-month plan. We could look at a 5-year business model. We could look at projections. We could look at maybe something like the business model canvas that is a visual representation of how a business operates. So there's so many ways that we can work with our clients to help them plan. But we need to certainly encourage them to start getting into the planning phase. A lot of them left the corporate world, and they left it because they wanted freedom for themselves, freedom to make the money that they wanted to, and freedom to have direction in the way they wanted to go, rather than being told what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And oftentimes they they shy away from the corporate strategy and the corporate budget and the implementation of that, and they try and do it free form. And whilst it might work when they're a very small business, generally as they tend to grow, they certainly can't operate that way. So failing to plan is one of the biggest challenges that we see with small businesses, and one of the biggest reasons that they tend to fail. The next biggest one is that they just don't know their numbers. And we are finding, quite shockingly, that only 20% of businesses in the US get monthly management reporting or regular regular management reporting. So not even monthly, we're talking about quarterly. And when we're looking at this, we've got to understand why that might be the case. With technology where it is today, it is so easy for us to be able to let our clients have access to regular, up-to-date monthly management reporting or even quarterly reporting. And when we're looking at and talking about management accounts and management reporting, we're looking at proper numbers that are based on income recognition, accruals, prepayments, work in progress, or inventory adjustments. So we're looking at really good numbers to be able to base business decisions on, because what we don't want to be doing is basing business decisions on out-of-date historic financial information or on management accounts that aren't accurate. So we need to be helping our clients, and we can do this simply and easily nowadays with cloud technology in particular, but we can help our clients get accurate, up-to-date financial information on a regular basis. Now, not getting their numbers is one thing for a small business, but even those that do actually get their numbers, very few of them really, really, truly understand their numbers. And oftentimes they say to us as accountants or bookkeepers or advisors, well, that's why I have you guys. I don't understand numbers. I'm better at running my business. I have you here to help me with my numbers. And oftentimes we find that accountants and bookkeepers say, exactly, that's exactly why you have us. But oftentimes we're doing a disservice to our clients, because they really, really need to understand what the financial implication of decisions that they take. They need to understand what's happening on a frequent basis within their business, not just measuring their business success on the basis of their bank account, which oftentimes they do. What we need to be doing is helping them understand the entire financial position of the business. And that's both the profit and loss, it's the balance sheet, and it's the cash flow statement. So it's the income and revenue statement, it's the statement of financial position, and it's the cash flow position that we need to be working with. Those three big dials that we have for businesses in their business to be able to show them. And it's just one of the greatest things that we can do as accountants, bookkeepers, and advisors is to be able to share that knowledge regularly with our clients, to ask them dumb questions. Why have your sales not increased, or why have they increased dramatically? Why is this expense up? Why is it down? Getting them to understand what we're seeing and challenging in the financial statements or their accounts, the issues that we think are there, and just talking them through with them and getting them to actually have a feel for their numbers and to get to understand their numbers. At the accounting firm I worked at, we had regular meetings with our clients to go through their numbers. And this was often on a monthly or quarterly basis. And just having simple conversations with them about their numbers so that they understood what we were talking about, they understood where we were coming from, and they understood the challenges we saw in their financial statements, and getting them used to numbers, because oftentimes they look scary, and we need to be able to say to our clients, they're not scary, we can help you with those numbers. The third biggest challenge that we've seen with most small business owners is that they think they can play every role in the business. And sometimes they just don't have the right team at the right time. Now, if we look at the first challenge, playing every role, well, we've seen that oftentimes with so many business owners and small business owners, they are answering the phones, they are dealing with quotes, they are dealing with suppliers, they are dealing with customer queries, they are dealing with HR, they're dealing with the team issues that arise, production issues that flow through, and they get stuck in at everything. And unfortunately, we know classically that that's not going to be very helpful to the business. And if we look at it even from a sports team perspective, if we look at the best world-class teams, if you just picked one player out of that team and put them against the second-class team, that one player could not win against the second team. It just is impossible. We know it doesn't work. Yet sometimes small business owners think they can play every role in the organization. And we just need to get them to take a step back. We need them to look at the entire business strategy. We need them to understand that there are so many people out there to help them. It doesn't necessarily have to be an employee or that they employ people. It could be that they actually outsource or that they get others involved from a part-time basis. So it doesn't need full-time employees here. We're just using the right people to help them at the right time on the right role. Now, the next biggest challenge we tend to find with small business owners is staffing at the right levels. Some businesses employ a high-class and high-powered team really early in anticipation that they're going to generate revenue to match that high-powered team. And sometimes those businesses just grow broke because the revenue doesn't arise and the business is not built to actually generate the revenue to support the team that's in place. Now, other times we see it the other way around, where the business has grown so rapidly, they're desperately looking for the right caliber of team to come on board. It is a really tricky position, and it's one that we just need to acknowledge. We need to keep our clients aware of it, and we need to be working with them to help them understand that as they grow, it's not linear, but we do need to be not over-employing and getting too high-powered a team in advance of actually needing them, that we need to try and do work in advance and plan so that we get the right team in at the right time. The fourth biggest issue, and one of the big other areas that we as accountants can help our clients, is cash. So it's just the rule of business. Growing and scaling businesses consume cash. Startup businesses obviously don't have cash, but growing businesses just eat into their cash resources. And so for us to be able to help small business owners understand cash, the difference between profit and cash, and to understand how they can accelerate the cash position within their organization and the tools and the ability for them to generate cash quickly to be able to support and scale their business growth is really, really critical. We as accountants, bookkeepers, and advisors can also help them understand when they need finance, the right type of finance, and the right type of finance to support their growth. Because again, how many times have we seen small businesses get involved with angels in advance of actually needing that money, or giving away equity to people that aren't really appropriate, or it's not the right time for them to do that? So we as financial wizards, as you were, we have the brilliant ability to work with our clients to help them understand, one, cash, the movement of cash, how to accelerate movement of cash within their organization, and the ways that they can improve their cash flow. What cash resources they need to fund whatever project they're about to go at. And if they're looking for external investment, because most businesses can't grow from existing revenue and reserves, they need outside support and help. How we as financial wizards can help them get access to the right amount of finance at the right time and at the appropriate level and the appropriate type of investment. So a massive ability for us to be able to help small business owners. The next biggest challenge we see with small business owners is, one, they either lack systems entirely. So we've seen where one or two man business companies start up, where there's two people involved and they do everything and they inherently know how the organization works. But as they grow and they take on employees, they find that things don't get done, or they're not done the way they did them. And they just assume that, well, there's nobody out there that can do it as good as I do. What the business at that stage is lacking systems. And systems are how we do it here. And how we do what here, it's how we do everything in this organization. So how we operate, how we communicate, how we market, how we employ, how we train. So how we do everything in this organization. And it's really important that we help our clients put in systems across the board. And systems are one of the areas that we can just push the button and nudge with them and get them to think about systems on a continuous basis. Because systems enable not a robotic output, but they enable a business to generate consistent results. It shows why we need to do things the way we do it, why we do them here, and what the results and outcomes expected from those are, so that we can manage expectations. Now, putting systems in play is one of the big challenges within a small business. The next big challenge is that systems generally fail as a business grows. So every time from about the size of 10 employees upwards, every time you double in size, we tend to see systems get stretched. And we know when systems are stretching because the business owners will be firefighting. Customers will be complaining, orders will be taking longer to get out. There will be issues with customer complaints and delivery dates and just across the board, team will be upset. And that's generally down to a lack of systems failure rather than anything else within the organization. So we need to be getting our small business owners to think about systems as they grow and to be thinking about upgrading their systems consistently. And this isn't just about technology systems. We're not talking servers here and computer equipment. We're talking about how they communicate with one another, how they plan and process, how they employ, how they actually do the operational systems within the organization. So how they make something, how they test it, how they actually do business development. So it's everything within an organization we need to be documented, and that documentation and those systems need to grow with the business, because every time they double in size, they need to be looking at the systems and if there's issues and challenges. Now, the next biggest issue that we see with our clients is they oftentimes try to be all things to all people. And what they're doing is generally chasing revenue growth. And sometimes, even within us and within our own firms and practices, we tend to find that sometimes, and the joke goes that an accountant will take anybody with a checkbook and a pen. Well, we need to be careful with our clients as well, because you can't be all things to all people. So you really need to truly understand your customers. You need to understand who the ideal customer or client is for you. You need to understand what they value, what they're looking for, and you need to be able to deliver it. Now, that sounds really, really simple, doesn't it? To know what your customers want, what they value, and to be able to deliver it. But it's surprising how few organizations truly understand what their customers are looking for. And when we're talking about understanding our clients and our customers, it's not just about surveys, because oftentimes when we do surveys, people tend to tell you what you want to hear. So we need to be delving far deeper than that. We need to be looking at customer and client advisory boards. We need to be adopting what Disney does in their all ears policy, where the entire team is watching and observing how the guests of the park are interacting and using and operating with the Disney's rides and with the services within Disney. We need to be doing the same within our own accounting firm, but we also need to be helping our clients as well. Because clearly the challenges that our clients face are challenges that we're undergoing the same problems too. So when we've got a solution and we find a solution for our challenge, then it's something that invariably will be helpful to our clients too. So we need to be taking our top 10 clients out to lunch and finding out what they're looking at, what their challenges are we helping them, are we being able to support them, is there anything we're not doing that they really need? And so our clients need to be doing the same thing too. They need to be talking and listening to their top customers and understanding what they're truly going through. Creating avatars, as it were, for each of their ideal client types, breaking them down, putting names and pictures on those, and understanding their issues, challenges, how to communicate with each one of them, and being able to actually deliver what our customers are really looking for. So it's a big challenge and a big ask to truly understand your customers, and it takes a lot of skill and care to be able to drive that forward. Also, one of the big challenges that we see with small businesses is that they ignore culture, they ignore core values, or they ignore the importance of brand. Now, we see this in big businesses, and we've seen, for so many years, Zappos and the really strong culture organizations, and we're being shown that this is an example of how we need to do business. But small business owners tend to see that as just for big business. They don't understand that core values really matter to a small business. In fact, they're probably far more important in a small business than in a larger organization. And certainly as we grow, core values help us instill the rules of the organization, what we stand for, who we're about, and so that employees can make decisions based on the core values. We don't necessarily need to always go to the rule book and look at the systems and procedures manual. If we know what the core values are and what the organization stands for, we can do the right thing. And culture is really critical, because culture exists in a business, whether you agree or like it or not. Culture exists. And as a business owner, it's our responsibility to ensure it's the culture that we want in our organization, not a culture that's being driven by unhappy employees who are niggling away in the background and creating a cancerous culture. What we need to be doing is driving from the front, driving a really strong, powerful, successful culture, leadership built on the core values of you as a person, but also the organization. And that's what the brand is. The brand isn't just fluffy branding. There's a very big difference between brand and branding. Whilst branding nowadays is getting important and becoming quite important, because oftentimes people make judgments based on brands. They often don't understand how to differentiate between organizations. So they often do it on brands nowadays, but we're not branding. But when we're looking at brand, we're talking about the entire ecosystem of the organization. We're looking at the cultures, the values, the team, how they communicate with one another, how they communicate with their customers, how the branding looks. So it's much more about vision, mission, and where the business and organization is going. And if as a small business owner, our clients aren't sick to death of talking about their core values on a regular basis, then potentially they're not doing a good enough job. And the final challenge that we see often with small business owners, and you'll excuse the cheeky 7.5, the 8 biggest mistakes didn't sound as good as the 7 biggest mistakes. And unfortunately, I had 8, and it's a really, really important one that I want to close off on here, is the failure to implement. We often see small business owners are paralyzed by fear. They just don't know what action to take. And oftentimes we see that this failure to implement is based on a fear of failure. They don't know whether a business decision is going to be right or wrong. And so therefore they just do nothing. And oftentimes they hide and cover that up in, oh, I'm far too busy. I didn't get time to do that. How many times do you actually come across that with your clients when you say, oh, I thought we had agreed that you were going to undertake these 3 things? And they say to you, oh yeah, I was going to do that, but I just didn't have the time. And that's generally either they don't understand the importance of those tasks and they lack the focus to actually drive those points through, which is where we can actually hold them accountable and bring them back to the real world and say, well, you were going to do those 3 things because this is what it was going to do to the bottom line, for example. That's an amazing ability for us as accountants to be able to hold our clients accountable. And if you think about it, every world-class coach or athlete has a coach. And a coach necessarily won't be there to show them how to hit the ball better or throw a ball better or to run faster or to run better. It's about holding their athlete accountable, being there as a sounding board, being there to support and advise. And of course, when they see issues and errors and positions that need fixing, they're there to guide and to be able to help them do that. Well, again, that's what we can do for our small business owners, and we can do that on a light touch basis or on a strong basis. But really what we can do to help prevent this paralysis is get our clients to understand their numbers and to start planning so that they understand what happens when they make a business decision. And oftentimes as well, we as accountants tend to want to always know the right answer. And in business, oftentimes we don't know what the right answer is. We have to test, we have to try. And so it's important that we don't go into risky things, but that we actually do take action, that we take a small bit of action, we test it, we do what marketing does and A/B test it. So we try one thing or another, we try both, and we see what the financial impact is. And technology where it is today and our ability with numbers means that we can help our clients understand very, very, very quickly the financial implication of a decision they take, whether it is having the desired results or not. And then we can either double down on that, or we can pivot, or we can get them to do something differently. So we should never allow our clients to fail to implement because of a fear or for a lack of focus, because those are certainly 2 areas that we can have a massive impact on. So Jason is going to launch another poll here. He's going to ask you whether you have those same challenges that your clients face, or perhaps in the question bar you might want to type something else, some other challenges that your clients are facing. And yeah, Jason, if you can fire off that poll.
Happy to, Ainsley. Poll number 2 is now live. Yes, this is the second poll. There will be 2 more polls coming throughout our remaining time. This is poll number 2. For those of you keeping track, this is poll number 2. We're going to have 2 more, and we're going to leave this poll open for a little more than 30 seconds while you get your responses in. And we're going to close this down and continue on with the presentation. I will give you all a countdown when it is time to do so.
Okay, so that poll seems to be a slightly different question. It's one that we're coming to later, but that's okay, because that gives me a really good indication, because that's pretty much what happens and what we've seen happen across the world from an accounting perspective, that we see that the top 10 or 20% of clients within an accounting firm get advisory support from the managers and partners within the accounting firm. But it's the bulk and the 80% that only get it on an ad hoc basis or generally only get accounts and tax returns. And so that's really important to find out. So if any of your clients are facing challenges that are not listed here or just are completely different, if you just want to jot them down and the questions, we can get a feel for those as well. Because what we want to do next is show you the ways that you can quickly as an accountant actually deliver this. And in reality, it's a very simple process because basically this list is a stop doing it. So if they don't plan, then you need to help them with planning. If they don't understand their numbers, you need to help them understand their numbers. If they're running out of cash, you need to help them with cash flow management, and you need to help them with cash reporting and helping them get access to cash and funding as they need it. If they're not putting systems in place, you need to nudge them. If they're ignoring culture, values, and brands, and you can push them and guide them on that, you can help them with understanding their customers. So effectively, this gives you an action plan straight away for you to be able to introduce within your accounting or bookkeeping firm, and to be able to put package in and put systems in place to actually help with all these challenges that your clients are facing. So what I want to go on to next is what you can do about it. So clearly we've just shown you there that wherever there's a challenge, you as an accountant can probably find a solution to be able to help them with. But what I wanted to do quickly was show you a recent survey done by Accounting Today. And these were looking for, they were asking what SMEs were looking for from their accountant, bookkeeper, or advisor. And you can see here the top 5 answers were being a trusted advisor, responding quickly, understanding their business or industry, being affordable, and communicating clearly with them as non-accountants. And you know, for an accounting firm or a bookkeeping firm to deliver all 5 of these, it's quite a dramatic challenge to do this for 100% of your clients. So we really need to understand what's vitally important for our business owners, what bits that really we have just no option and we really need to get stuck in. Clearly, and as you would expect here, we're not seeing accounts and tax returns as one of their top 5 ones. But I think I am being flippant, but I think we generally get that point that small business owners are looking for far more from us than filing their taxes and filing their accounts with the authorities. So we need to be aware that we're being pushed harder and harder and faster for more. Our clients are looking for more from us and want to pay us less money. So we need to be very clear about what we're able to deliver for them, but we also need to be able to show them the value that we're creating for them and to be able to charge reasonable fees for the extra value that we're creating. It's not about us doing more for less. We would just not be able to be in business if we were to do that. So what I want to show you here is very simply, these are the tools that we inherently possess as accountants. We do have inbuilt superpowers that potentially we don't appreciate or we don't realize. Or perhaps if we do, our team under us don't actually get and understand the power that we have to be able to help small business owners overcome the major challenges that we face. Quite simply, if we help our small business owners with planning, if we help them understand their numbers better, and if we help them with cash flow management, then just doing those 3 things alone will have a massive impact on our clients. And so it's about us being able to do that in a cost-effective way and being able to cascade that down through the troops and to get every single part of the team involved in helping us help those small business owners. Now, what we've done at Clarity is we've built an entire advisory framework and a business advisory framework around the life cycle of the client. So it's all about us, and it doesn't have to be Clarity. This can be any process or system that you put in place in your business. But it's all about helping you gain an understanding of your clients, gaining an understanding of their business, where it is now and where they want to get to, understanding what your clients are looking to achieve within their business, and working with them to understand that and to be able to plan for that future that they're looking for, understanding where they are now, where they could get to, what that gap is, and helping them put in place a plan to be able to close that gap is just a fantastic piece of work that's well within all of our team to be able to do for any size of business that we have within our accounting firm. We can also help improve and install management reporting to support their growth, because business owners need to understand where they are on the path. If we've decided that with them and sat down with them and we've looked at growing revenue by X% per month, we need to be able to say to them, well, it's not happening. There are reasons why it's not happening. Either the plan's wrong, or you're not doing things that you need to do to be able to support that growth. So that regular checking of budget versus actual is a beautiful ability for us to be able to help our clients and our small business owners grow. We can also, of course, hold them accountable. So we can do this quite reasonably and easily from a monthly check-in or a quarterly check-in. We can provide them with outsourced CFO services. We can hold board meetings with them, or we can just have ad hoc meetings. There's so many ways that we're able to hold our clients accountable. We can create who, what, when action plans with them. So who's going to do what by when, and just have their permission to be the stick, to be able to say to them, come on, you're not achieving that success. How are we going to help you go forward and grow that business? Now, when we're talking about scaling up and growing sustainably, this is about looking at systems. It's about looking at the leadership. It's looking at the execution within the organization. It's looking at the strategy. It's about implementing a plan and delivering it. And this is about creating a scalable, successful business, a profitable business, one that's not going to grow broke. So it's much better to have a better business before we go bigger. So better before bigger is so, so important here, because we see so many businesses that grow and scale too fast and they end up going broke. But we can prevent that, and we can make sure our clients don't go broke. And it's all about helping them maximize the value of their business or help them plan for exit. And we've created an entire process around this. And this is a slide that I'm not going to go through in detail, because Right Networks and us have a webinar coming up on the 29th of the month. So on the 29th of October, we're going to be taking through and creating a practical workshop to be able to take you through an advisory process that you can put in place in your accounting or bookkeeping firm. So I don't want to go through this slide in its entire detail, but I just want to drive certain key areas and just to point them out to you. So understanding where they are now, we can go light in there. We can look at very simple sensitivity analysis. We can look at the key numbers within their business. We can see what's really important to them, and we can look at their accounting function and how we can help them improve that. We can look at the tax position within their organization and get a good feel for that. Again, moving to where they want to get to, we can help map their sales processes. We can create a simple business model, a very simple basic financial plan, last year plus X%, or we can go into huge detail and create a very complex Excel model or Excel spreadsheet based on their business to be able to generate some projections for them for the next 12 months, for example. Or we can just perform very simple sensitivity and what-if analysis. So what happens if we put your prices up? What happens if you increase your revenue by 5%? What happens if you're able to cut some of your overheads or to improve your team efficiency? What does that do to your profit? So we can do sensitivity analysis very, very quickly. But I want to hone in on the key. And this is one area that we were able to double one of our clients' profits just by purely putting in place proper management reporting systems and putting in a very simple budget, which they measured and monitored on a monthly basis. And they went from $150,000 profit up to a $300,000 profit in 1 year just by doing that. There were no new changes in the business. There were no dramatic impacts within the organization. This was purely about them putting in place a budget that they looked at and the focus that they had on their numbers on a monthly basis. So really, really important. Jason, actually, if you could kick off a poll, I think I missed it. This is a poll which was relevant to the previous question, which was the challenges and issues that you faced in that your clients were facing in business, and whether they were similar to the 7.5 business mistakes that I had talked about earlier on. So it's this slide here.
All right, happy to let you all know that poll number 3 has been fired off. We're going to leave this open for about 20 or 30 more seconds. We're going to have one more poll as we wrap up over the next couple of minutes. So everybody make sure you get your answers in quickly here so we can have as much time as possible for the remainder of the presentation before launching poll question number 4. We are just under. Yes, Ainsley?
Yeah, so if people have got other challenges that their clients face, if they just want to highlight them, that would be great. Some people have, their clients have none of those issues or challenges. So they're obviously quite unique in business, but if they could let us know what those challenges might be, then we can maybe talk about those or hit those as well. Great, thank you so much, Jason.
Poll is now closed.
Fantastic. So if I just go back quickly to that slide where we were looking at the potential issues and the potential solutions that we can deliver very, very simply to our clients to be able to help them overcome the major issues and challenges that they're facing. So as I said, it was putting in place proper management reporting, putting in place a very simple budget, and helping them measure and monitor that on a regular basis was a massive difference. Now, putting in place, most of the Right Networks clients use QuickBooks and QuickBooks Desktop, which is taken to the cloud. And again, I have no issue with QuickBooks Desktop. It's about putting in place proper and appropriate bookkeeping and accounting functions that support the business and produce accurate and regular management information. So however you choose to do that, it's about choosing the right solution for your client. So it's just such an important thing that we can do as accountants and bookkeepers and to be able to help our clients do that. And again, it's the mentoring and support services that we can put in place to be able to help keep our clients accountable is really, really critical. So again, as I said, whether we do that as monthly check-ins or whether we get involved heavily as a support for their board, or we're an outsourced CFO or financial director, or how we choose to do that. But it's about making sure that not just the top 20% of clients within our accounting firm do that are getting this. It's across the board that all the small business clients that we're dealing with actually get some support and help. And as I said to you, if you do nothing but just focus very, very simply on helping them get access to cash and funding, or helping them understand the cash position in their organization, helping them with reliable financial data and understanding their numbers, and helping them with business planning, just by doing those things and stripping out the complexity in business and helping them understand where they can achieve success quickly and how they can achieve growth, then you've done a massive, massive thing for your clients. And it's something that all of us as accountants can very, very easily do. So I'm conscious of time. So I kind of want to just kick off with the next steps that you could do within your accounting firm. Clearly, you could use the 7.5 business mistakes as an action plan for you to just dive in and start creating solutions, or start delivering more of those solutions that you're already delivering to your top 20% of clients, and making sure that that's spread across your entire client base. So if you're not using business advisory services at the moment, and you're just doing accounts and tax returns, what I'd say to people on how to get started is to start with your own firm first, to do a business plan for your own firm, to look at customer service, to look at the numbers within the organization, to look at your systems and procedures, because basically what you need to do in your organization and for your bookkeeping or accounting firm will be exactly pretty much what your clients are going to need to do. So at least if you've done it for yourself first, you're coming from a place of authenticity, you're coming from a place of understanding, and you're coming from a bit more I suppose, a strength position, because you've been there and you've done it. It's also important that within your organization, wherever you are, you appoint a champion, because this is somebody who not necessarily is responsible for implementing everything, but somebody who's driving it forward and has oversight across the whole project to be able to ensure that action is actually achieved. And what I'd say to you is meet your best clients. Select 10 clients, take them out for lunch, and just have a conversation with them. Find out what they're looking for, what challenges they're facing in business, what they like about what you're doing, what you could be doing better, what services you're offering that they really, really value, and what services that they think that you could be doing to actually help them more. And it's really about understanding the problems your clients are facing and creating solutions for them. So it's always problem, solution, and that's not only just in business, but it's across the board. So it's about you working out what their challenges are, what's really, really eating them, and being able to help put forward a package together to be able to put that in play. And it's about creating an irresistible offer. So don't say you're starting with a trial, because nobody wants to be a trial or a guinea pig, but just start with something that's really powerful and easy wins. And so this is putting in place proper management reporting, or looking at doing a budget, or looking at doing cash flow projections, or helping a client with their numbers and understanding their numbers. There's just so simple wins that we can, that we can knock off here, and that we can build our confidence, and we can work with the clients to be able to grow with them. And it's all about building testimonials and creating stories to be able to talk to your other clients about, to be able to say, well, this is why these clients achieve success, because this is what they're doing with us, this is how they're working with us, and this is what's enabling them to scale their business. So it's about having those stories. It's about building the confidence within not just the managers and partners within the accounting or bookkeeping firm, but across the entire team, and getting everybody involved. So I think we're pretty much at the top of the hour. We're open for Q&A, so if anybody's got any questions, please ask. Jason, if you want to fire off the final poll, that would be great too.
The final poll is launched, and we are actually not going to be able to have time for the Q&A, seeing as how we are butting up right against the top of the hour. So I'm going to have to go ahead and do some quick end of webinar housekeeping. Of course, I want to thank you, Ainsley, for presenting, and to thank Right Networks for bringing today's webinar to all of you today. We are grateful for Kevin and for Kelly, who are on the webinar with us, who have been here with us the whole time. We are going to get ready to close out. So I'm going to let you all know we're going to process CPE by the end of the day today. That'll be available in your CPA Academy accounts, along with an archived recording of today's webinar and a copy of the handouts. So Ainsley, do you have any quick concluding thoughts before I close this poll down and we conclude today's session?
Of course. So if anybody's got any questions, we will be getting and picking up those questions, and we can actually pick them up and follow them up with you. So if you've got questions that you want to ask, just ask them here. If you do want to connect with us, then if you can connect with us quite simply by connecting with us anywhere online, or sending an email to info@clarity-hq.com, or connecting with us across any of the social platforms, and we'll make sure that we give you the help and assistance that you need.
All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close down this fourth and final poll, and I want to thank you all again for your time and attendance. We hope to see you all on future webinars, and hope you all have a fantastic rest of the day. Take care, everybody.